I know my phone was bugged probably not far from that same time. I was doing hypnosis and was involved with the UFO group. So I did a lot of their regressions, the abductees, and the regressions. And after I got involved to that degree with the UFO group, I noticed one day my mom, she would call occasionally in the mornings, I mean, fairly often. And that was about 10 o'clock one morning. She called and we were only on the phone maybe 10 minutes or so. It was just a, hi, how are you? You're doing fine. I'm doing fine kind of conversation. But she kept saying she was hearing something on the phone. And I thought, well, I really didn't hear it. And she always had kind of a lot of noise on her line. So I didn't really think much about it. But when she hung up, I hung on to the phone and it was an open line. You could hear. And she hung her phone up. That wasn't an issue. I heard her hang her phone up. But my end, it was an open line. And these were the sounds I heard. And I probably listened for about 10 minutes. I mean, my arm was hurting by the time I got finished. But it was about 10 minutes. And what I heard was, kind of like, I could hear footsteps, heavy footsteps across a tile floor or a concrete floor of some sort. I could hear a chair moving out, of some kind. I could hear metal against metal, like a file cabinet, when file cabinets used to be metal, and there were a lot of them in offices. Those were the sounds I was hearing. And during the entire 10 minutes, there was a constant click, 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 like a tape, running, something like that. It was just weird. I was just like, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was the strangest thing. So eventually, after a while, I heard this very distinct beep, and it ended. All the sound ended. That was it. So I'm just like panicking, so, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I called a good friend of mine, who was also quite psychic, but she's also pretty grounded and down to earth. And she said, well, hey, she was thinking, how can we figure out if your phone has been bugged? This was back in the days when you could actually call a number and it would give you your number back from the phone company, remember?
Like star 69 and
there was something that you could do. You could call this number and it would give you your phone number back. It was really for the lineman, the telephone lineman, that they could plug in and know for sure that they had the right number that they were working on or fixing or whatever. So I called that and I didn't get my number back. And I called everyone I knew and had them call this number and see if they got their number back. Everyone else got their number back but me. I did not get my number back. But this is the really freaky thing that happened that night. It just happened to be the MUFON meeting was that evening. So I went and she went as well. They were showing a video. It was a documentary. Wendell Stevens was doing a documentary down south somewhere, I'm not sure where, of a UFO case where a guy said he was abducted and he ended up, miles and miles and miles away from his home, just out in the field or something. And so they were there doing a documentary about that. And they had a film crew with them and several people. They were all staying in a motel. They had separate rooms. And all of them I think it was around 1:15 or so at night, they started getting these calls. I mean, it would just be a hang-up call. And it was like 1:15, 2:15, 3:15, 4:15. And the next morning, they all met up and talked to the people at the switchboard. He said, nope, no calls came in whatsoever the entire night. For some reason, their phones were ringing, but it wasn't going through the switchboard. That's really spooky. Now, this is really strange, too. I come home that night after watching this documentary, after hearing my phone be bugged that day, okay, and I went to bed, went to sleep, and I think it was about 1:15 or so that morning, phone rings, hang-up call. 2:15, phone rings, hang-up call. 3:15, on my phone at home. I'm thinking, okay, this is just spooky weird, that all these things started happening.